Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Sight Screen Cricket Journal podcast. I'm your host, Tawhid Qureshi, and today we're going to be looking at the Asia Cup, which kicked off just a few days ago. Bangladesh's first game didn't go to plan. They lost against Afghanistan quite convincingly. But to discuss Bangladesh's prospects as well as the tournament in general, I've got a fantastic guest with me today. He's actually out in Dubai at the moment covering the tournament. He's an eminent journalist, cricket writer from Kolkata, India. He is Sandipan Banerjee. Welcome, Sandipan.
Well, I am flattered with that word of eminent cricket writer. Yes, I've been doing for a while, but I don't think that word eminent suits my profile as of now.
I beg to differ. And what I should have also said actually is that, a very well-travelled
Yeah, that's the one I like the most, I guess.
indeed, because of course, we met in London a couple of months ago now, probably because you were in London for most of the
Yeah,
summer, most of the
yeah,
English summer, covering firstly the India Test and white ball series against England, and then lots of other cricket after that.
yeah.
So today we're not going to be talking about the English summer, although I'm sure that would make a great episode. You watch so much cricket over here in the last sort of couple of months, but yeah, we're going to concentrate on the Asia Cup. You are out there in Dubai at the moment, so yeah, just good to get your general impressions on the tournament, on the atmosphere, if there is one, because I know before you flew out to Dubai, you were sort of saying sometimes it can be a bit of a soulless kind of place, lacking in a bit of atmosphere. But what's your sense of the tournament so far?
Well, my first reaction after landing in UAE is the heat, right? I was in London, 16 degrees in London, light night, chilly mornings, and from there it's like straight away it's 40 degrees. So yeah, actually you were like I was talking with you on the other day like that sometimes in Dubai things can be a bit artificial, unlike what we see in the UK, right? There is spontaneous interest about cricket amongst the crowd over there, very knowledgeable crowd. Compared to there, here is more like subcontinent, especially obviously the first game I covered, the India Pakistan one, and the atmosphere was even what can I say, the neutral fans when from both like fans from both the teams at a neutral venue. It was a great atmosphere. But again, it's more like subcontinental atmosphere, unlike what we see in England, maybe in Australia, maybe in other countries.
Sure. And one thing I'm interested in is kind of, I know we were sort of talking as well a couple of weeks ago about how the grounds themselves, so Sharjah,
Mm.
the Sharjah cricket ground and the other grounds are quite far out of
Mm.
sort of the center of Dubai, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah.
And that itself kind of creates sometimes, perhaps not the best atmosphere. But I guess what I'm interested in is kind of in the city, is there a sense of like a big tournament going on, or is it just one other thing that's going on in Dubai?
Yeah, you are actually absolutely right. These grounds were like very far, especially the Dubai International Stadium is in Dubai Sports City, which is like a bit far from the city center, as you so. And also on the match days, some of the if you are coming to the ground with your own car, from there you will park your car, and the stadium is like 1.5 kilometers you have to walk, and on this heat, so it's quite so. But there, I mean, obviously it's a concern, in these venues. But again, there was no lack of interest. Despite that, there was no lack of interest among the crowd, and I think it is not because of the tournament. I think it is because of an India Pakistan encounter. So actually I would like to see what will be the atmosphere maybe today when India will play Hong Kong. or maybe when some of the other teams will non-India, non-Pakistan teams, non-India or non-Pakistan teams will be playing taking on each other. So in the UK, I covered the at the 2019 World Cup there, and every match was like almost like, obviously the main matches were 100% sold out. Even when like Afghanistan played Sri Lanka, or maybe Afghanistan played Australia, everything was sold out. So even there is an interest about neutral teams in the UK. But I doubt like we not probably see the same kind of enthusiasm over here for other teams rather than India and Pakistan. Even I was there in the T20 World Cup last year. Even some of the semi final and all, where India and Pakistan were not playing, there's not much people. And you are
Yeah,
talking about interest among in the city. I haven't seen such, because Dubai is a very busy city. People are busy with their daily life and all. So I haven't seen any specific interest or buzz related to this Asia Cup in Dubai.
Yeah, I'd say one of the unique features of kind of cricket in the UK, like you say, there is always interest in,
Yeah.
if there's a big tournament, if there's a World Cup, if there's a Champions Trophy held in the UK, yeah, you will generally get pretty good crowds, like you say, even for the smaller teams that might be
Mm.
competing. But actually, in terms of the UK perspective of the Asia Cup, it's actually been very so, as you know, there's a big kind of British Indian, British Pakistani,
Yeah.
British Bangladeshi
Bangladesh.
population in the UK. And, obviously lots of interest amongst fans for the Asia
Yeah.
Cup. But actually, in terms of media coverage, it's pretty muted. So I think we were discussing as well when you were over here that the games aren't being shown on any of the Sky Sports channels
Mm.
themselves. They're being shown on a bit of an obscure channel, which
Mm.
you really have to search for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting from that perspective, where I think really the Asia Cup after the World Cup, maybe it's kind of after the Champions Trophy, it really should be, I think, the third biggest kind of global tournament,
Of
international
course.
tournament that's played. But yeah, I guess because we still see things through quite a UK cricket lens, and there is
Yeah.
obviously no English, Scottish, Irish cricket interest. So yeah, there's certainly been some muted coverage, shall we say? But that's not to say that the tournament hasn't thrown up some interesting games already. So yeah, well, we'll talk about the India-Pakistan game a bit later on, because it was actually an interesting game, which isn't always the case when those two teams meet in tournaments. But yeah, let's firstly focus on Bangladesh's game yesterday. It was against Afghanistan. So it didn't go to plan. Bangladesh ended up losing by 7 wickets. There were 9 balls remaining, so it was quite a comfortable win in the end for Afghanistan. Just quickly looking at the scorecard, Bangladesh kind of limped to 127 for 7, I would say. The only kind of innings of note came from Mossadegh Hussain, who scored 48
Yeah.
off 31 balls. And there were wickets, I suppose, quite predictably for Rashid Khan. He picked up 3 for 22, and Mujibur Rahman as well picked up 3 for 16, and they really did the bulk of the damage there. And then, so in response, quite a relatively small target of 128. Afghanistan got there quite comfortably. The 2 innings of note there were from Ibrahim Zadran, who scored 42 or 41, and Najibullah Zadran, who really kind of accelerated along towards the end, and he hit 43 from 17. So all in all, quite a disappointing defeat for Bangladesh. And I guess, it kind of, I've been looking on social media today, lots of really kind of critical fan reaction, as you would kind of expect to such a defeat. But for me, it kind of raises, I guess, the more sort of fundamental question around the fact that Bangladesh haven't actually been good at T20 cricket for a little while. They didn't do very well in the last T20 World Cup. They lost against Scotland. They scraped past Oman, and then once they were through to the tournament proper, didn't win a game. They recently lost a T20I series against Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe as well. And so we could go on and on, but essentially, Bangladesh haven't been good at T20 cricket for quite a long time. Interested in your views a little bit from the outside looking in terms of, why do you think that is?
Uh, I think at times Bangladesh tend to play a bit conservatively in T20s. Like they approach T20Is as in maybe a shorter version of ODIs. Like they implement the same game plan. Like take a few take a little bit of time up front, then keep wickets in hand, and then attack in the last 5 6 overs. But that's not the modern T20 format. I think modern T20 format is like you have to go for runs, irrespective of losing wickets. So you have to target around 70 runs in the power play, right? Even if you lose 3 wickets, that's perfectly all right. Because in these T20Is these days, uh, you cannot play like an ODI. Even England has shown that even ODIs can be played on the T20I format. So yeah, I mean that's the one reason why Bangladesh struggle. Another reason, I think they lack power hitters. So if you look at this Bangladesh team, most of their batters would like to take a few deliveries before to get going. Like there is no one in this team, someone like Hardik Pandya maybe, or someone like maybe Josh Butler maybe, like on those lines who can come in and just start hitting. It's not there isn't someone in this team. Maybe little bit Sabir Rahman. But still he needs to develop what I believe that he needs to develop, but he has the potential. But apart from that, everyone is like you can fit them in the ODI side. Like it's like they have picked an ODI team for a T20I series. So you need specific players specific conditions. And but interestingly on these kind of UAE pitches, the game Bangladesh plays, actually you can get away with it because these are like 150 160 kind of pitches, so you can get away with this kind of batting approach in on these conditions in here in UAE. But again, yesterday was a I mean I'd like to know from you what was the reason behind asking deciding to bat first after winning the toss when we have seen that chasing team gets the advantage.
Yeah, it's a good question. Before we come on to that, I mean, yes, I kind of agree with what you're saying in terms of the way that their game is actually fairly
Yeah.
well suited to sort of slower pitches, which is
Yeah.
exactly the sorts of pitches that they play on back home in Dhaka, in
Mm.
Mirpur. And so it felt to me watching the game that they were almost, like you say, trying to get to that 150 score, which I
Yeah.
think is par score for Sharjah. So that seemed to be their ultimate goal, which for me isn't very ambitious because if you want to win a game, you can't just be looking to kind of limp along to achieve a pass score, which in the end didn't happen. Anyway, yes, the point that you made about the conservatism within the Bangladesh game is really quite central, I think,
Yeah.
to the reason why they're not playing very well in T20 cricket. And again, we talked about this, I think, over the summer. In my point of view, Bangladesh do play their T20 cricket and actually also their ODI cricket in quite an orthodox kind
Yeah.
of way. And as you were describing there, the ODI approach to playing T20 cricket, wickets in hand, save it for the last few overs. And you're absolutely right, because actually that template now, even for ODI cricket, is old fashioned and, isn't, the way that the game is
Yeah,
progressing.
even in ODIs it is old fashioned, and this not we are not for trained to all that most of the teams, top teams in the world, are now trying to probably emulate the England approach.
Absolutely. So yeah, I feel that Bangladesh is still kind of stuck in a bit of a time warp. They're kind of playing the cricket that everyone played sort of 10, 15 years ago, maybe. And yeah, the other thing I think, which again I think something we touched on earlier, was that in terms of that orthodoxy and the way they play, they don't have any kind of, I don't know how you would describe them, either X factor players or sort of out of the box kind of
Yeah.
cricketers. So they don't have express pace. They
Mm,
don't have, mystery spinners or wrist
mm,
spinners. They have lots of left
mm,
arm spinners
mm,
who we know will
mm.
bowl in quite an orthodox kind of way. So again, I think that certainly hampers their progress. And then finally, what you were saying about power hitters, I think is true. They don't have anyone who can kind of comfortably clear the ropes from kind of ball one.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all of those things are quite concerning and even depressing for Bangladesh cricket fans. Um, and I guess kind of looking at things from a wider context, I know sort of recently there's actually been lots of criticism of the BCB and the way they manage cricket in Bangladesh, and the fact that it is quite a dysfunctional way that they operate. And again, for me, looking a little bit from the outside, looking in, it seems that there's no real clear vision for their cricket. No,
Yeah, and maybe a little bit of they are. What I don't know. Whatever I feel as an outsider looking at Bangladesh cricket is that it's not just about the team; it's about few individuals. So even if they say that there are disciplinary issues, if that individual is a big player, they just tend to ignore it. Um, you cannot have this kind of a culture for an international team. If you want to be a top international team, you have to have your own methods of dealing with things like this.
yeah, absolutely. They certainly do rely on kind of individuals and
Mm.
experienced individuals. So the likes of
I
Shakib.
understand that, but there is talent pool. Obviously, you cannot compare the talent pool of Bangladesh with in any other country, like maybe like top five test playing nations. But of course, but still, BCB they are doing well commercially, as far I know. Uh, they need to be. I think they need what Bangladesh need at this point is better man managers.
Yeah, definitely. And what you say there about the talent pool is absolutely right. You you would expect them to not have the a wide player base as
Yeah.
they do in India, Australia, and England, but certainly you would expect a bigger talent pool than they have at the moment. I think that's a fundamental problem. So, for example,
Especially when you are doing well with commercially. I think Bangladesh cricket board is generating more money than boards like in New Zealand cricket board. I think South Africa they are generating more money than South African cricket board.
exactly. Yeah, you're right, and that hasn't translated. That commercial success hasn't
Yeah.
translated to on-field success. We could talk a lot more about the BCB and the structures and everything, but we'll leave it at that. But one thing I am interested in talking to you about, and you touched on it there in terms of some of the coaching and the management of the players. So Bangladesh do have, well, I'm not sure if we should call him a head coach because, again, the BCB aren't calling him a head coach. They're just calling him a technical consultant
For
um,
T20.
for T20Is, exactly. So I guess just as a bit of a background, going into the tournament, Russell Domingo was quite outspoken actually about how he felt the BCB were kind of instilling fear into the players, like through sort of personal attacks, and so he was quite vocal. And it seemed to me that it was almost like that was his resignation speech. But I gather he's had some sort of meetings with the BCB after those comments, and so the situation as is that he is still the head coach, although he's not going to be coaching the T20 team, which is why Coach Sriram has come in to oversee the T20 team, not only for the Asia Cup, but obviously for the T20 World Cup, which takes place very soon afterwards. So, yeah, tell us what you know about Coach Sriram. Obviously, he's from India. He's been involved in the Australian coaching setup for a little while, but yeah, I know you've been in press conferences recently with him. So yeah, what were your impressions of him?
Well, first of all, BCB now has joined ECB to have specialist coaches for specialist format. So yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
which is interesting because yeah, there is a sense that they have too many coaches actually, and they
yeah.
have kind of overlapping remits, and no one's quite clear what they're all doing. So you have Jamie Siddons, who is an Australian who is a former head coach. He's now there as a batting consultant. So initially, when he came in, there seemed to be
I
a
think
bit of an
Alan
overlap.
Donald has also joined them as a bowling coach.
Yeah, yeah, he's been there for a little while. So yeah, there's lots of coaches at the moment.
Yes, talking specifically about Sriram, I mean, if like he has obviously he has represented India, he's been a very successful domestic player also. But I think people these days knows Sridharan Sriram more as a coach, as his expertise as a coach, because he has worked in this coaching setup for a while now. He has been a very successful tenure. He had a very successful tenure as a spin bowling consultant with the Cricket Australian team. I can give you one instant, like how good Sriram is and his thought process. So basically, the Australian team was in the UK for the T20 for the 50 over World Cup last time, and I was covering this one of their session in Bristol. So I saw that Sriram working with two bowlers, one left arm, one leg spinner and one left arm Chinaman. So basically, they wanted to give Steven Smith some practice to play Kuldeep and Chahal. So Sriram brought few Indian guys who can bowl like this at the net. So yeah, I like that help. And in fact, in a later interview, Steven Smith spoke about that how good Sriram was, his thought process was, and that's why I think they had a success against the Indian wrist spinners. So yeah, I mean, Sriram is a very methodical guy. He's a very technical guy. Actually, the tag of technical consultant ideally suits him. So he will come up with innovative ideas. He has worked with IPL, worked in the IPL as well. So he's well accomplished with the modern T20 techniques, modern T20 setup. So he can suggest a lot of things to them, to BCB and the team management and everything. But implementation, what he needs to, I think the most challenging job for Sriram with Bangladesh will be the implementation. I know that he will have the idea, he will have everything in ready on play, but I think he would like to implement those on field, I think it won't be as easy as he had with the Australian team or maybe in an IPL team.
Yeah, that's a really good point in terms of implementing some of the sort of strategies and tactics. It's
Yeah,
great to sort of talk about these things off the field and
yeah,
before games. But yeah, we often see, you're right, with Bangladesh, that when they all go onto the field, that yeah, whatever sort of strategies and tactics they've talked about totally sort of go out the window, and they just revert to an old fashioned type of cricket. But yeah, and also it's interesting what you were saying about implementation, because he hasn't really had a very long time
yes, he has just
to
joined.
work
Yeah,
with these players, right? He was only appointed, I think, like literally a couple of weeks ago, if that.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, he hasn't had a lot of time
And
to
I
work with
think he has
players.
I don't know whether he has a contract till the World Cup as well. World Cup. I don't know. Maybe they will. At this point he has a contract till for the Asia Cup. Maybe they will extend it to the World Cup.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that that's the expectation. But yes, you're right. He's kind of been thrown in at the deep end. It feels like to me a little bit because yeah, as we've seen from that Afghanistan
Basically, the thing is,
game.
Bangladesh, a team like Bangladesh, they want instant results from their support staff or the coaches. But I think this whole process of coaching is a long term thing. It's a long term vision. Like if you have seen with England also, like after 2015, how they changed the setup, they changed the mindset, and it took a little bit of time for them to implement the new setup, the new manage, so I guess, and they need better coordination also with different coaches in different formats. I mean, that's what I asked actually Sri Ram, that like in this, like I quoted the example of ECB, that they have different coaches in different formats. Now BCB also has this kind of thing. So
Mm.
how tough it is, or it is for the coach, like maybe XYZ had some sort of a strategy in place, and now you will have some sort of some different strategy for next 3 months. So, and he said that coordination is more is the most important thing. Like if you have good coordination with coaches who are handling different formats, it is easy to implement the ideas or to work on the long term goals. But if you like don't have, is there if there is a lack of coordination, then everything can go out of the window.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, again, my kind of hunch and impression is, yeah, I hope that coordination is happening
Mhm.
behind the scenes. But yeah, I think sort of team management and the BCB have a big role to play in that sort of
Absolutely.
coordination and vision piece. And unfortunately, I'm not 100% confident that they have the capabilities to kind of do that successfully. But we shall see. What we do know is that Bangladesh have a crunch game against Sri Lanka tomorrow. It really is winner takes all kind of
Yeah,
affair.
it's a knockout game.
It's a knockout game because obviously Sri Lanka lost their first game against Afghanistan as well. So, yeah, moving, I guess, away from Bangladesh specifically and looking at the tournament as a whole. Actually, maybe Afghanistan's a good place to start because they're unbeaten in the tournament so far. They've won both of their games really convincingly. Are you surprised that they've started so well?
No, 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 I am not surprised, because I think they beat Bangladesh and Sri Lanka in the last T20, last Asia Cup as well, to start their group league campaign. So I'm not surprised. But it now challenge will be for Afghanistan is to maintain this kind of a performance against teams like India and Pakistan. I
Yeah.
think I think I think they against India and Pakistan, their I think mostly their batting will be challenged,
Mm.
because you can sometimes get away with some, what can I say, I think reckless, maybe the right word, kind of batting against, with due respect to Sri Lanka and Bangladesh bowling attacks against them, but against a quality more, against a more, what can I say, more attacks with more variety is against them. I think they will be tested, especially against Pakistan with that pace attack.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Certainly, Afghanistan spinners, you can
But
see
yeah,
them having.
Afghanistan's bowling attack is world class, and there is no doubt about it. Like their spinners are like as good as anyone, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's been interesting to watch their progress. They didn't actually have a very good 2019 50 over World Cup, which is probably the
Mhm.
last time I had
Which
a
was
really
quite
close.
surprising. Which was quite surprising. I
Yeah,
think they had some issues with their captaincy and anything. So yeah,
yeah, I think there was a bit of internal kind
yeah,
of
internally.
politics
Mm.
going on there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they perform in the rest of the tournament. They've already qualified for the next phase. But yeah, India, Pakistan. Let's have a focus on them. So yeah, obviously the game that kicked off the tournament a few days ago was between those two teams. India won, and as we were saying before, it was actually a an engrossing encounter. What were your sort of reflections on that game?
Oh, that was a great game. I think this Asia Cup so far, the two games have been quite close, unlike what we have seen in the T20 World Cup. So I think from the broadcasters, I guess, yeah, these are good signs. But yeah, India Pakistan, of course, close game as you expect in an India Pakistan contest. Despite Pakistan bowling attack being depleted, despite India not having Bumrah, I think we had a very good game. Yeah, some of the performances came out like Nashim Shah, like Hardik Pandya. You know, these kind of matches can make you a hero or a zero in a span of like half an hour or so. So, yeah, I mean, I think India's experience of Indian batters of playing these pressure situations, maybe handling days in and day out on in the IPL. I think that's the reason why India managed to pull that off. Because at one point it looked a bit challenging, especially when Jadeja got out in the last over. They needed, I think, then they had a dot ball, so they needed 6 of 3. But Hardik, if you have seen that his reaction on the social media, that there's a clip that went viral that he even if refuse after not taking that single or he just assured Dinesh Karthik that okay, no problem, I'm there. 3 ball will be enough for me to hit that 6.
Yes, and he like you say, he won the game with 2 balls to spare. So yeah, he timed his assault perfectly. I think what really stood out for me in that game was actually how Hardik Pandya bowled, because I think we all know
Absolutely.
how destructive he can be with the bat, but we've not always seen him sort of bowl sort of match winning spells as such. So yeah, for me that was a real kind of highlight in terms of that game. And yeah, I think he's a really interesting player in general. I remember watching him, I think the first time he played in a test series in England for India. So it wasn't last
2018.
2018 exactly. And he didn't do particularly well.
No, I
He,
think in Nottingham he was the player of the match. He took
sorry,
five
yeah.
wickets. He scored some runs. I think 250s also. Yeah.
Yeah, but he certainly didn't look like the player he is now. And I think, yeah, with a white ball in hand, he really does look unstoppable at the moment. Um, so let's kind of wrap things up. But before we wrap things up, have you got any kind of general tournament predictions in terms of what we've had 3 games now? Who do you think might emerge not only as the team that wins the tournament, but also any particular players that you think might end up having a really good tournament?
Oh, I mean, of course, Nashim Shah from Pakistan, I guess. From India, of course, Hardik Pandya is the kind of form he is in. I'm quite, I'm quite interested to see how Arshdeep Singh from India, the left arm is see how he bowls, because he's very young guy and he just made his debut in England, and under pressure, the way he bowled on the other day was exceptional, and he can. I think I'm quite eager to look at his progress as a bowler in this tournament. Maybe from Afghanistan, one of their spinners, maybe. But again, I think if you look at the tournament from the perspective, I think there is a clear-cut difference between India and Pakistan and the rest of the other teams. So it has to be a miracle or something like that to not having an India-Pakistan final for the Asia Cup for the first time. Yeah, because I can see a little bit of lack of quality amongst the other teams compared to India and Pakistan.
Yeah, it's a good point, and it's a real challenge, I think, for the other teams to kind of try to make up that gap, to try to bridge
Mm.
that gap towards India Pakistan. I think, yeah, an India Pakistan final is probably what all cricket fans want. Certainly neutrals and India and Pakistan fans will certainly want that in terms of a final match. Of course, we shall see what happens. There's still a week or two of the tournament left, so lots to look forward to and enjoy. But for the moment, Sandipan, once again, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Yeah, all right, as well. It has been a pleasure, and hope like I can chip in between time and again, and hope to see you in Bangladesh later this year.
Absolutely, Sandipan. Yeah, let's keep in touch. See you maybe in Bangladesh or India or the UK. Who knows?
Absolutely, absolutely. Or UK, yeah, of course.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for watching. This has been the Sight Screen Cricket Journal podcast. My name's Tawhid Qureshi. As you can see at the bottom of the screen there, do check out the website and the Twitter feed. And we'll see you all next time. Goodbye for now.